Hey everybody, welcome to my channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. I hope you're doing well. Today we're going to be making a Renaissance style necklace. You could call it Victorian, but it's definitely a very romantic necklace. And as you can see, the colors of the beads are all fall colors and the metals are bronze, perfect for this time of the year. I'll be using the beads that came in the Curated Bead Box for the month of November. And if you're not familiar with that box, I'll leave some information down below in the description section of this video, along with a link to the website, as well as a coupon code in case you're interested. So without any further ado, let's go ahead with today's project. And here we have Curated Bead Box for the month of November 2023. The name of this box is Persian Rug. And if you haven't seen the unboxing video, I'll leave a link down below. As you can see, this box was filled with a lot of rich colored beads. It contained a lot of reds and browns and oranges, as well as a bronze colored pendant and some antique gold colored bead caps. And many of the strands were extra long, which means you can make a lot of jewelry pieces out of this one box. Now, if you didn't get the box, I'll leave a list of the materials down below in the description section of this video. I'll leave the colors and the sizes and everything in case you want to do a search on the internet. You could always go to the dollarbead.com website to see if they have any extras from this box. I'll link that down below as well. So let me show you the items we're going to be using for today's project. Here are the items we're going to be using for today's project. As you can see, we have 2 strands of 6mm size beads in 2 different colors. And these beads are called marble style glass beads because of the effect applied to the surface. Let me show you. As you can see, the marble style effect on these beads is in a red and yellow color, but I would say it's mostly red. There's not much yellow on these beads. And this color reminds me of the inside of a mango for some reason, but the color is actually listed as orange. Let me show you. Isn't that a beautiful color? I really like it. It's very rich and very appropriate for fall. And we also have this chandelier component. It has 5 loops on the bottom, and then it has a loop at the top and 1 below it. I'm going to be using all of those loops, and I'm probably going to use these ones as well. But anyway, this pendant measures 40 by 36 millimeters. Let me show you the back. It's smooth in the back, as you can see. I'm actually going to hang this bead on that loop. Let me show you. This bead measures 10 millimeters in size, and it's a Crackle glass bead. And the color is actually golden brown, but to me it looks very orange. It's almost the same color as these beads right here. But anyway, like I said, I'm going to hang it on this loop here. I think it's going to look really nice. Let me show you what else we're going to be using today. I'm going to be using some craft wire and some chain. Both of these are in a bronze color. As you can see, the craft wire is 20 gauge. And I'm not particular about the brand. Any brand will do. But I do like the bronze color of this brand. The brand is called Shinek. It's a relatively unknown brand, in my opinion. I don't see it very often, and I think I got it on Amazon. But you can use any brand, guys, like I said. And I think the links on this chain measure 3 by 5 millimeters. We're going to be using it to create some swags. And although you may be tempted to use very delicate chain or chain that has very tiny links always ends up getting tangled up. So it's a bit of a nuisance. And I think this is curb chain, but you can use any kind of chain. You can use roller chain or this kind. It's up to you. In addition to these items, I'm also going to use some jump rings, a lobster clasp, and several headpins for some dangles we're going to be creating. But I'll bring those out later on when we get ready to use them. So now that we've gone over the materials, let's go ahead and get started. We're going to start by creating the pendant, and these are the items we're going to be using. I have my chandelier component. I have 4 of the 6mm size beads, 3 red ones and 1 orange one. I have 1 large 10mm crackle bead, 4 headpins, and they're flat headpins, and a piece of 20 gauge wire. Let's go ahead and start with a large bead. I'm going to slide it onto my head pin, like that. Using flat nose pliers, I'm going to grab the pin right above the bead. I like to leave a little bit of space so that I can create a kink. And now using some cutters, I'm going to snip off the excess, leaving about, I would say, 1/2 inch or so, something like that. And now using round nose pliers, I'm going to grab the end, making sure that it's flush, and create a loop. And these are very strong head pins. I can tell by the resistance. Let me just straighten it out a little bit. So this is what you want. Very simple. And I'm simply going to open it slide it onto the loop of this pendant or this component. And now let me close it. So this part's done. It couldn't get any simpler than that. So now I'm going to create some little dangles that are going to hang on those loops. I'm going to start with the orange bead. Once again, I'm going to grab the wire about 1/2 inch down, kink it, grab the end with my round nose pliers, create a loop, slide on the orange bead, grab that wire with my flat nose pliers, line up the bottom loop, kink it. I'm going to snip off a little bit, leaving 1/2 inch. Grab the end with my round nose pliers, make sure it's flush, and create a loop. You want to make sure you close your loop, and you want to make sure it's centered as well. Just like that. And now I'm going to grab this loop with some pliers because I need to make sure my loops are level. It looks like they are. They might be slightly off, I don't know. But anyway, that component is done. And these 3 are going to be mounted on the head pins. So let me do that real quick. I'm going to slide it on just like that. Grab the end. Kink it. Snip off the excess, leaving 1/2 inch. And by the way, I don't waste those pieces of wire. I put them in a container and then I use them for other things. So now I'm going to grab the end, making sure it's flush, and create a loop. So that's 1. Let me do the other 3. Okay, as you can see, the 3 of them are on head pins. So now we're going to connect everything. Let me start with this one. I'm going to open up this loop, slide on one of these, close it, and now I'm going to open up this loop and slide it onto the middle loop of this component, like that. And now let me close it. And now let's connect these 2. I'm going to open up this loop, slide it onto the next loop of the component, and close it. And now let me open up this one. And I'm going to hook it onto the loop on the other side. And close it. So I have all my dangles connected now. Now you could stop at this point. You don't have to go any further. But I want to embellish this a little bit more because I want to take advantage of these 2 loops here. So I'm going to attach a chain swag. Here's a piece of chain. It measures about 2 3/4 inches. And here are 2 5mm size jump rings. So let me go ahead and connect it. I'm going to open up this jump ring. Let me slide on the chain like this. And I'm going to hook it onto this loop. Let me go ahead and close the jump ring. And now I'm going to open up this 1. me just make sure the chain isn't all tangled. Or twisted, I should say. I'm going to hook it onto this loop now. And close it. So that's what we have so far. I think it's really attractive. And like I said, the chain swag is completely optional. If you don't want to have a chain swag, you can just hang some other little dangles from those loops. I would recommend finding some 4mm size beads in these colors. So now that we've completed the pendant, we're going to move on to the next step. Here are the beads for the next step. As you can see, I have my 6mm size beads in those two colors. I also have a long piece of wire. It's the 20 gauge wire. Whenever I'm making beaded components, I like to use long pieces of wire. I prefer one long piece instead of a whole bunch of little pieces because I end up wasting less wire whenever I'm making beaded components. But anyway, we're going to make a whole bunch of them. I have about 16 beads of each color. Now you may need less or more depending on how long you want your necklace. So anyway, let me show you how to do this. Using flat nose pliers, I'm going to kink my wire about 1/2 inch down, I would say. And now using round nose pliers, I'm going to grab the end of the wire so that it's flush. You want to make sure it's not sticking out. And now I'm simply going to loop it. You want to make sure the loop is closed and it's centered on the wire. And now I'm going to load a bead. Once again, I'm going to grab the wire with my flat nose pliers, line up the bottom loop, kink it, cut off the excess at about 1/2 inch. Grab the end with my round nose pliers, make sure it's flush, and I'm going to create a loop. And you want to make sure it's centered and closed, just like that. Now, even though I lined up my bottom loop, I always try to make sure my loops are level, and clearly they're not, so let me go ahead and straighten this out, just like that. The reason that happened is because the beads are kind of small. It's difficult to grip them when you're trying to create simple loops. So let me show you again. Once again, I'm going to grab the wire 1/2 inch down, kink it. Using round nose pliers, I'm going to grab the end, make sure it's flush, create a loop. Load one of these red ones now. Grab the wire again, line up the bottom loop, kink it, cut off the excess, leaving 1/2 inch. Grab the end with my round nose pliers, make sure it's flush, and create another loop. Let me make sure my loops are level. So there's my second beaded component. And that's all there is to it, very simple. So anyway, I'm going to continue to build these beaded components. I'm going to try to use up all of the beads, and I'm going to do it off camera to save time. And when I come back, we'll connect everything. So I'll see you in a few moments. Okay, I'm back. I completed all my beaded components, as you can see. I also connected one of the strands. I thought I would do that ahead of time to figure out how many I needed. Now these are not connected, as you can see. We're going to do that in a few moments. But anyway, I have 14 beaded components on that one, 7 orange ones and 7 red ones, and it measures about 8 inches. Like I said earlier, you may need something longer or shorter, depending on your preference. I do have these 4 that we're going to use in a few moments. So let me show you how to connect these. This is super easy. I'm just going to open up this loop, connect the next component, and close up the loop. And now I'm going to open up this one, connect the next one, and close it. So now both strands are done. And as you can see, I've alternated the colors, orange, red, and so on. Let me connect these now. I'm going to do it the same way. These are going to be connected to the pendant. I'm going to use jump rings. Here are some 5mm size jump rings. So now we just have to assemble the whole necklace. Let me go ahead and start with the strands. I'm going to open up this jump ring. And let me connect it to this loop of the pendant. And now I'm going to connect one of the strands like this. Let me close up that jump ring. And now let me open up another jump ring. I'm going to connect it to the same loop. And now I'm going to connect the other strand like this and close it up. So that's what we have so far. Now I do want to talk about the orientation of the loops, guys, because it's important. As you can see, the loops on the chandelier component are all parallel to the mat, which means that whatever you connect to it obviously has to be vertical. So these two jump rings at the top are vertical or perpendicular to my mat, which means that the loops of this component and this one are parallel to my mat or horizontal. So this next one has loops that are vertical, and this one has loops that are horizontal or parallel to the mat. And that's where I'm going to connect these two. It's important that you check your loops because otherwise the necklace just won't sit flat on your chest. So let's take a look. This beaded component, the red one, has loops that are vertical, and the next one has loops that are horizontal. But I'm actually going to use a jump ring to connect it to this piece right here, this loop. So let me do that now. So now let's take a look. As you can see, the jump ring is vertical or perpendicular to my mat. So now the red one has loops that are horizontal, and this one has loops that are vertical. Now I'm going to use a jump ring at the other end. So what I need to do is change the orientation of this one. It'll make sense once I connect it all. As you can see, this one now has a loop that's vertical or perpendicular to the mat, and another one that's horizontal. And like I said, I'm going to be connecting it to this one. Let me use a jump ring. You want to make sure it's not all twisted up. Let me close it and then I'll show you. As you can see, this last jump ring that I connected is vertical or perpendicular to the mat, and it's connected to this component here, which has loops that are horizontal. I hope that makes sense. I know it can be a little bit confusing, especially if you're new and you're not used to doing this kind of thing. So now I'm going to connect this one in the same manner. I'm going to go ahead and change the orientation of these loops. so they're perpendicular to each other. Open up this jump ring, connect it to the component, and now I want to make sure that I connect things properly. So I'm going to check the loops on the strand, and I'm going to connect it to this one. Doesn't that look beautiful? I think it's really attractive. Now you could stop here and not go any further, but as you saw in the introduction, I did hang some chain swags here. So that's what I'm going to do next. Like I keep saying, it's completely optional, guys. I know not everybody likes that. Here are 2 pieces of chain. Each one measures about 1.5 inches. And here are some more jump rings. They're 5 millimeters in size. So let me go ahead and open one. And I'm going to slide the chain into it like this. And I'm going to connect it to the same exact loop that I connected this piece. So let me do that. And close it up. And now I need to figure out where to connect the other end. And I think I'm going to connect it to this one right here. This loop right there. Let me open up this jump ring. I want to make sure that it's not all twisted up. That's important. And I'm going to connect it this way. Let me close it up. So that's what we have so far. I think it looks really beautiful. So now I'm going to connect this one the same way to the exact same loops on the other side. So now we have both swags connected. And before I spend any more time arranging my necklace nicely on the mat, I'm going to connect the clasp. Here's a lobster clasp and 2 6mm jump rings. Let me go ahead and open one. I like to use nice big jump rings at the clasp. Now there is a front and a back to this necklace, so if you're right-handed, it's recommended that you connect the clasp on the right side of the necklace. And now let me open up this one. And connect it to this end. So this necklace is finished. Let me go ahead and arrange it on my mat. So there's my beautiful Renaissance necklace. And now I just have to find a Renaissance festival to attend. But I think they're all done in my area. They usually happen around the end of summer. Let me slide the mat down so you can see the top of the necklace. There's the top. So anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed today's tutorial. This necklace is actually very easy to make, and it didn't take that much time. The only time-consuming part about it is creating the beaded components. But once you've created a bunch of them, the rest is pretty easy. Now, if you're going to make it, keep in mind that yours may turn out different depending on how big your loops are. But if you make the components the way I did, by leaving yourself 1/2 inch for the loops after you kink your wire, it should turn out pretty similar. So anyway, guys, I'm going to go ahead and model this necklace before I leave. Thank you so much for watching. I'm looking forward to seeing you again. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time. Bye.